name is Brooklyn Wasser. Today I'm going to talk to you about dieting. There's always been a lot of controversy around diets. What diets work, what diets don't. People are afraid because they don't want to give up the foods they love, but they are also afraid at the same time that they're going to begin yo-yo dieting, and they don't want to do that either. But if you track your macronutrients, you can have more of a healthy mind and body because you're not giving up the things you love in order to lose body fat. And so most of the time whenever you diet, you restrict food that is high in calories, high in sugar, you increase your exercise, and a lot of times people will plateau once they've been dieting for a certain amount of time and doing exercise. And this is when diets can get dangerous because a lot of times whenever you are dieting, if you're exercising a lot, most likely you're eating on a low calorie diet, and you may need an increase in calories, an increase in food, but instead the old mindset of dieting is that you need less food. If you're plateauing and you're not losing the weight that you need to lose, you decrease your calories, and in some cases you may need to increase them depending on what type of exercise you're doing. And on the other side of that, a lot of people may be so miserable dieting because they're missing out on times with their friends and their family because they don't feel like they can go out to eat, or they don't feel like they can have certain things or go certain places. And so they'll just quit. They'll be miserable enough to just quit their diet, and that is when yo-yo dieting happens because they lose sight of their goals because they're just completely burnt out, and they end up gaining more weight than what they ever even had to lose in the beginning anyways. With macronutrient tracking, it's different. You do not have to restrict foods. You do not have to give up time with your friends and family. You can go out to eat and lose weight, and you have to be smart about it though. You still have to track what you eat, but you don't have to cut anything out. So if you want to go out to eat, or if you want to have a cookie or brownies or whatever, you can still have that. You just may not be able to have as much of it. Or if you know you're going to be going out to eat that night, you may have to adjust your breakfast and your lunch in order to hit your numbers that day. And I can tell you from personal experience that I have tried and failed at the traditional lower your calories, increase your exercise type of diet. And I have succeeded at macronutrient training. So if you look at these pictures here, in this picture, I was eating healthy, and I was frustrated because I was eating a lot less food than what I had normally been eating and exercising more. I was actually doing around 45 minutes of cardio 6 days a week in this picture, and I was frustrated because I wasn't losing the weight. I switched to macronutrient tracking, reduced my cardio actually to 4 times a week doing HIIT training, which is about 20 minutes, and you run as fast as you can for like 15 seconds, and then you walk slowly for 30 seconds, and you just repeat that for 20 minutes. And you can see that there's a huge difference in the pictures. And so I think this is where a lot of people try and they fail, is they think that they're eating healthy and they're exercising, so they should lose weight, when in fact, even though you're eating healthy, you may still be eating too many calories, or you still may not be getting enough protein, or you know, there are different aspects to dieting and the nutrition that some people aren't aware of, but there are all kinds of scams and all kinds of things out there telling you, if you eat this or you do that, you're going to lose weight. If you do this and don't do that, this is going to get you where you want to go, and that's not always the case. So I think that if you are educated on macronutrient tracking, you may be more successful at reaching your goals. I've had some personal things in my life that have deterred me from my plan, but I know what goals to set. I know how to achieve them. It's just setting your plan into motion. It's actually acting on it. And there are lots of online resources that can help you. There's actually a blog that I like to use a lot for figuring out macros for people, and that is Healthy Living, Heavy Lifting. And they give you a step-by-step guide to how to track your macros. And I can tell you a little bit right now about how you can go about figuring out your macro numbers and what you need to do to hit them. So, if you just determine how much you weigh. Okay, and I'll use an example as I go through this with you so that you have a better understanding. But there are 4 different numbers that you would multiply by your weight. And what determines what number you would multiply by is your activity level and your job. So if you have a sedentary job where you like sit at a desk or something and you don't exercise, hardly ever. And so you would take your weight times 11 if that's your situation. If you have a relatively active job, like a postman, for example, someone who walks door to door during the day, and but you don't really train, or you have a sedentary job but you train 2 to 3 times a week, then you would multiply your weight by 12. You would multiply your weight by 13 if you have an active job and you train 2 to 3 times a week, or you have a sedentary job and you train intensely, which is like really heavy weightlifting or a couple times a day, like 2-a-days. And then 14 is the most active. It is basically if you have an active job and you train intensely. So this is where it's really important to be honest about your activity level, because if you're not, then the numbers won't jive with what you need to be consuming, and it will not work for you. So this is a time to be incredibly honest with yourself, because these are your numbers. So for our example, we'll use our person weighs 130 pounds, and they have a relatively active job, or they have a sedentary job but train 2 to 3 times a week. So we're going to take 130 times 12, and that'll give 1,560 calories. So you have 1,560 calories a day to maintain your weight. Now, if you want to lose weight, you need to decrease your calories by 50 to 100, and you always try to decrease by the smallest amount possible at first. Wait at least 2 weeks, see if it's working for you or not. If it's not, you can increase a little bit, but you want to decrease your calories by as little as possible, because you still want to get the most food for the amount that you can still lose weight at. So once you have figured out how many calories you're supposed to have a day, so we're going to take the 1,560 and subtract 50 from that, and we're going to have 1,510 calories in our example. So you have a calorie expenditure each day, and then you have carbs, protein, and fat. These are the 3 categories that you're really going to be tracking throughout the day. They're very important. So protein, you always take in however many grams per weight. So our person weighs 130 pounds. They're going to consume 130 grams of protein each day. You want to do at least that, because protein is your building blocks for muscle and energy. So protein, each gram of protein, you take that times 4 to get the amount of calories that your body is going to take from protein a day. So it would be 130 times 4, which is 520 calories. Now, we're going to jump over to fat. And this can get a little bit tricky for you. If you like more fattier foods like bacon and, egg, yolk, those types of foods, nuts, then you would multiply 0.5 or 0.6 times your calories. However, if you weight lift or you train where you're breaking down your muscles and recovery is important for you, then you're going to want to eat more carbs and less fat. So you would take your fat, to figure that you would use 0.3 or 0.4. So if you take, for our example, we'll use 0.4. So 130 times 0.4 is 52. There's a whopping 9 calories per gram for fat. So you would take 9 times 52 to get 468 of your daily calories are coming from fat. Now, carbs are basically whatever's left between your protein and your fat. So then you would take the amount of calories for protein, which was 988, and is 520, and then the amount from fat, which is 468, and you would add those together. That's 988. So then your total calories per day was 1510, and you're going to subtract your fat and your protein, which was 988, from that to get the amount of calories that you have for carbs. So that's 522. There's also 4 grams per calorie for carbs, so you would divide that amount by 4. So 522 divided by 4 is 131 grams of carbs. So now that you have all of the tools, you know exactly how to figure your numbers, you know what to do if you're not losing weight, you know what to do if you want to maintain your weight. The next part is planning. So if you want to go out to a restaurant and eat, you can do that. A lot of restaurants have their menus online. If you figure out what you're going to eat off of the menu that night, then you can plan the rest of your day around your dinner. So MyFitnessPal or some other type of app is really helpful for letting you customize your macros and calories so that you can track your foods, and they have a huge index of foods that you can put in there. Anything that you eat, basically, they'll have it, and if they don't, you can put it in there yourself, just using the food label on the back. So on top of that, you do need to also exercise, and I do recommend weightlifting and cardio. You could do longer amounts of cardio at a slower pace, or you could do more HIIT type training. That's really up to you and what you enjoy. As long as you're consistent with it, you will see your results. Bodybuilding.com has a lot of exercises, and it's all free. So if you go on there, they have recipes, they have meal plans, but you would still have to use your macronutrient numbers in order to know what you need to reach. They have workout plans that are 12 weeks, 16 weeks, daily. It is a great resource for you to use. There are a lot of sources online if you just go to look. And again, that blog that I mentioned earlier was Healthy Living, Heavy Lifting. They have a lot of blogs that they have posted, and they're very helpful. BioLane, if you look him up, he's very helpful in this if it fits your macros type dieting. He's very science-based. He's got a PhD, so he's very reliable. He's a very reliable source. So you have the tools that you need. Set your goals, make an action plan, and act on them. You do not have to be miserable to diet. You can track your macros, not reduce anything, and lose the weight and look the way that you want it to look. You do not have to always follow the traditional dieting plan. Think outside of the box, do research, become educated on macronutrients, and enjoy living a healthy lifestyle looking the way that you've always wanted to look. Thank you.